Welcome to a new edition of 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television with me, Manir Dan Ali. Our guest today is the Deputy National Chairman of the Executive Committee of the Arewa Consultative Forum, that is ACF for short, that is celebrating its 25th anniversary in the later part of November. I'm talking about none other than the Wazirin Katsina, Alhaji Ibrahim Ida, a former senator of the Federal Republic. Senator Ida, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Manir. I am happy to be here.
Why does the ACF believe that at this juncture it needs to shout and celebrate about its existence, which began about 25 years ago?
Well, you see, the fact that we are celebrating our Silver Jubilee means that we have been in existence now for the last 25 years. And I think, to answer your question, we have to get to the genesis of the formation of ACF.
Exactly. I wanted to ask, how did the ACF come to be?
Yeah, you see, what happened was that after the reverence of Nigeria to democratic system
in 1999,
it was realized that there were so many groups purporting, each one claiming to be speaking for Arewa, that whereas in other areas like the West and the East, they had a Ferry in the West, Indegbo, Ohanese in the East. We in Arewa, we had 4 groups. One group headed by the late Shagari, one group headed by Alhaji Sule Katagum, one group headed by Saraki, one group headed by Alhaji Abdurrahman Okene.
4 different groups.
4 different groups.
Is that not a reflection of the diversity of
Absolutely.
the North?
It was a reflection of the differences in political orientation, social status, and some other consideration. So, but it was felt that if it continues, things continue that way, then the Arewa's point of view and interest would be fragmented. So the leadership, the elders of Arewa, made up of the traditional rulers, the former political leaders, the clergy, both Christian and Muslim, decided that it was high time that we came together to form one organization. And in March 2000, under the sponsorship of the late Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Machido, may his soul rest in peace, there was a meeting in Kaduna for about a week, during which all these things were considered. And at the end, it was decided that one omnibus organization should be established. And that was what gave rise to Arewa Consultative Forum. It was inaugurated under the interim leadership of the Emir of Ilorin at the time. And we had people like late Senator Awoni, General Wushishi, Liman Chiroma, and others who came together to form the first executive. And that was what gave. It was a very wide and all-embracing meeting.
So and it's like a gathering of all the great and
absolutely,
from
absolutely.
The northern part of
and
the
then it was that
country.
That gathering that really fashioned out the constitution of the organization. And one of the cardinal provisions of the constitution is that every northerner, man or woman, young or old, Muslim or Christian or whatever religious persuasion, wherever he may be within the territory that was hitherto described as Northern Nigeria, was a member. He or she was a member. He or she could subscribe to be officially, and there was a structure and a leadership. And the idea was, first of all, to be a socio-cultural organization with political orientation, but no partisan politics.
So you cannot be there to support party A or party B. You are like for all the parties, you members of the different parties.
Absolutely. You cannot propagate the ideas of any single party. But you are allowed to be a member of any party within your own personal idiosyncrasy.
Do you consider that to be a strength or a weakness?
It was a strength because it allowed a composite, a union of opinions without regard to political orientation. The interest the Al-Qibla was the north, Ariwa.
But will the politicians who are at the helm of affairs, federal, state, be happy with such a kind of entity, because maybe they prefer the one that they can more or less pocket?
You see, once you have a general agreement within which people are allowed on their own, outside the ambit of the organization, to really propagate their thesis, you can have a consensus, and we had it. Of course, it was not. There were attempts by others to pull it to their direction.
To one direction,
but
or
you
the
see,
other.
where right, because it was a problem of push and pull. So those who wanted to push are being pulled by those who do not agree with them. So we ended up to have a consensus, and it has been on. Of course, within this, there were certain organizations that were offshoots of that. People felt so bad, so strong about their own orientation that they refused to fall into this and decided to really be on their own. But
like the Northern Elders Forum,
you see,
and a
but you see,
proportion
you
of
find
others
that when
who are more political than you are.
see what happened was that ACF broke into committees, committees to be able to propagate different interests. There are the political group, there was the social, there was the economic, there was the legal, there was the security. Now the political group was made up of people that had a political inclination. And of course, when they wanted to tow the ACF to a particular line, and the ACF as a group said, no, you are free to go and play your politics, but we cannot adopt a particular candidate so long as you have northern candidates. You see, that is where the problem arose. If you have people, candidates from the north or from the south, it is easier for you to take your decision in the sense that your interest is northern.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, but if you have 2 or 3 northern candidates vying for the presidency, it becomes difficult unless you want to divide yourself.
One other difficulty I assume for the ACF is that unlike a Fenifere that is mainly Yoruba, or the Indibo, Ohanese Indibo, which is Igbo, this one consists of so many hundreds of divergent tongues and maybe, for want of a better word, tribes. How do you manage that?
Yeah, well, you see, Arewa, or the northern region, has had the interest of that type of configuration. In the past, we had the people like Sardauna led cabinet that was able to bring in. But we tend to forget that the Sardauna had political power, executive power, economic power to tow things along the line. When it became to organizations like ACF that are voluntary, obviously it becomes difficult. But there was one common thread, and that was the pursuit and the propagation of northern interests.
But this multiplicity of tongues,
yes,
and even religion,
yeah,
is it a problem for the ACF? Because what I'm saying is that unlike Ohanese, Ndibo, which is Igbo,
yeah,
everything, Afenifere, Yoruba,
yes,
the Arewa Consultative Forum has Yorubas in the north,
yes,
all the other hundreds of tribes, the
yes,
Hausas,
yes,
the Fulanis,
yes, yes,
the Ngas, all the other tribes of
yes,
the north.
Yes.
Is that easy to manage and take a common position?
It was not easy, but also not impossible, in the sense that all that people are propagating for are their respective interests. Some of these interests are peculiar to environment, some of it are peculiar to social class, some of it are peculiar to political expectation. Now, if any organization that realizes this and tries to manage it, and how does it manage it? Let it have a level playing field for everybody. Let it also be fair. Let us also recognize that every member is the same, irrespective of his or her religious or social or political orientation. People are ready to subsume their interests for general interests. Because whatever we say, the person from the south, whether you are a Christian or you are a Muslim or you are Angas or you are Fulani, as far as you are concerned, you are northerner, one and all. And the interest to him, it is yours and theirs. So ACF tries to show everybody within its fold that we are, first of all, equal. You have the equal chance of becoming leaders of it. And if you have an interest and ACF sees to it, so long as that interest is not inimical to the interests of the North and Nigeria as a whole, ACF propagates it. So it was not, I think it was a source of strength. Why? Because before you reach a decision, you have to compromise on so many things. You have to understand those difficulties. You have to understand those differences. So in the end, we are stronger than this. It may appear, yes, that Ohaneze, Indibo, but inherently, what you see outside is totally different from what is inside.
What has been the relationship between ACF and those who hold political power? Because you just say, unlike the Sardauna, who had all those powers in his hands, you do not have the power. You have 19 different governors to deal with, and you have the federal government.
Yes.
So how do you navigate all of that to be able to still champion the cause of the North?
That is why we said that ACF sits down, see the multiplicity of interests in the North, discuss, agree, and then take it up to those to whom it may concern. Other things like arbitration, persuasion, we do it. But where it requires resources or political action, either at the state level or at the national level, we solicit the cooperation and the support and the action of our political leaders. Let's face it. At the moment, political powers in any political unit in Nigeria rise or reside substantially with the governors. So we have frequent meetings with governors. They tell us sometimes what they want us to look into, or we now tell them what we have looked into and the recommendations we have.
And do they listen to you? Do they take your advice? Because there's this common feeling that maybe the northern governors are on a different wavelength, while you are on a different wavelength. We do not see anything common which is happening across the North, unlike what some say in Western Nigeria, where you have the development agenda of Western Nigeria, and people are thinking that they are developing common things, which is not the case.
I think we have to make a variation here. You see, all those things that you see happening in, say, the West or in the East, first of all, it is the political leaders that sit down, propagate their blueprints, draw up their development agenda, and then they now announce it. And then they bring in, say, Afenifere to be part of the team, not the prime movers of the team. No, it is the governors that still retain that power. Now, in the ditto for the East, in our own case, you see, you find out that, of course, it will be simpler for, say, Afenifere. They have 6 governors, all of whom are Yoruba speaking. They have the same ethnic group. They seem to have an agenda for the development of an area that is no bigger than 2 states in this. So it is easy for them. Whereas in our own case, of course, we have always had these variations. Since the creation of states, some states in the North decided to be on their own. But now ours is to show the synergy of coming together, the benefit. And so some of the programs we initiate, and then they become the drivers. In some cases, they tell us that these are the things they want us to look into. And I will tell you, the relationship between us and the governors has been harmonious, has been interactive, has been beneficial, mutually beneficial to both sides. Oh, more things can be done, or things can be better. But I think, we are moving toward that direction.
But then why is the NNDC the premier northern development company in such a bad state? Why is it that we don't see it investing or going into new areas as it used to, when at one point it had over 45 or 47 subsidiaries? At a time, I know they have an oil acreage, which was given to them. I don't know what has happened, whether they are exploiting any oil anywhere. Why is that company, which is the commonweal of all the northern states. Why is it in such a bad state?
A very good observation. But you see, one thing you have to take note of is, as I said, the executive powers, the resource powers lies with the state governors. Now, in the past, when we had the North, one entity, we had multiplicity of agencies, common services, common agencies. As states were created, each state felt that let it withdraw its personnel, let it create its own outfit. And so this type of thing started coming. And you see, the effectiveness of institutions, common institutions like the NNDC is directly related to the amount of resources that were put into it. I don't want to blame the governors. Each one of them has his developmental needs. And then you will find out that at one time, look at it, we used to have a Bank of the North. I was a staff of Bank of the North. We knew it was very strong. It was the source of funding a lot of northern businesses. But over time, it died. And then the NNDC at the time it had outfits in Maiduguri, it had outside, it was the blueprint, through it, the blueprint of development. Industrial activities, Kano, Kaduna, Jos, commercial activities, agricultural activities, were all because we have one north, one place where decision could be taken. But at the moment now, even if you have representation from all the states, look at who are those who come. Each one comes with his own interest. And where you have 19 interests conflicting, you see, you find that obviously we are bound to have problems. And this is where institutions like the ACF play a role. Because we sit down as an aside, look into issues and advise the governors, look, there is need in these areas. Every area in the north has a comparative or a relative advantage in one area or the other, economic area, social area, and look at even the insecurity that we have. The common areas, it is encroaching. The federal government is doing its own, the state governments are doing its own, but we feel as ACF that there is need for synergy. Let them come together, and these are the things we advise.
I will want us to dwell on that after this short break.
Okay.
Viewers, it is 30 minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television, and our guest today is the Deputy Chairman of the National Executive Committee of the ACF, Senator Ibrahim Ida, the Wazirin Katsina. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it is 30 minutes, and our guest today is Senator Ibrahim Ida, the Wazirin Katsina, and Deputy National Chairman of the ACF. You were mentioning insecurity,
yes.
which is a hot issue in the north.
Yes.
It's affected a lot of the economy, the rural economy in many states, especially of the northwest, comatose because of the activities of bandits who have either stolen the cow, kidnapped people, pauperized them, and what have you. What has the ACF done in that area? Or are you just, asking the governors who have the executive authority or the federal government to do the needful?
Yeah. You see, ACF is doing a great job there. And let me explain. You see, ACF has set up two very strong committees, very, very strong committees. There's a committee on security where it got all the leaders of the security operators from the north, the military, the police, the paramilitary, and other security services. It got them together and threw the problem at them. Look into this and come up with recommendations. They did a fantastic, the committee was chaired by General Dambazo, the former chief of army staff. Yes,
right.
And they did a fantastic job. And they came up with recommendations. I can't say what it is now.
Yes.
And the one they did.
What did you do with those recommendations?
No. The recommendations were passed to those to whom it may concern. A lot of it depends on executive actions.
At the state or the federal government or both?
Look, the best thing to do is to forward it to the states and then point out to them that this is for the attention. Don't forget that we are a northern group. So our first leaders or the first point of call should be the state governors. we have submitted it to them. We have submitted to the Traditional Rulers Council because there are certain rules that are peculiar to them.
But a lot of the time, what we hear from the state government is that security is with them. They may be the chief executive, the chief security officers at the state, but all the military, the police, and the other armed services are under the federal government. Shouldn't you have made a case to show that northern Nigeria is concerned about this and gone to the federal authorities?
We have. You see, I'm telling you, I'm not giving you the details of the report of that committee. That committee looked at issues holistically, not just confined to one particular issue. No, even with timeline, with an action plan, who is responsible for what is to be done when. The report is very comprehensive. And as I said, for a report on security, you don't really publish it and say this is A, B, C. But we have done it, and it has been submitted to those. In the report, there are timelines, there are action apportioned to the various. There are certain things that the federal government should do. There are certain things that the state government should do, local government, traditional rulers, and even the individuals. Because ultimately, the issue of security is not for government alone. It's for everybody. So we have done, the ACF has done that and has already submitted that report to all those to whom it may concern.
So what is the problem? Where does the problem lie? Because ordinary people can't understand.
Yeah.
Here are the elites, the top cream of the North, have produced this report, given it to the governors. Maybe it's gone to the federal government, but they do not see dramatic change in the security situation. What they see of recent, for example, there are reports of even the bandits beginning to get into Kano State that had previously not had that problem. So what they see is more of escalation than de-escalation. Where do you think is the problem?
You see, for an institution like ACF, its own is to propose. To propose. The disposal lies with authorities that have the resources, the executive powers, the political wherewithal to do so. And I'm telling you this, many of the changes you are seeing, and there are improvements in some areas. Even if you now say that things are getting worse somewhere, there are improvements in some areas.
But it's not just Kano State where it's beginning to feel the heat. Look at Kebbi. There are areas where there are lots of problems. There is Bena, which is in Kebbi. There are the Laukurawas in Augi and other areas. Also Sokoto, Isa, Sabon Birni, almost no-go areas. You can only go there with a convoy of military and other security forces. So there may be some abatement around the Birnungwari area, but these areas I've mentioned in different states still are grappling with the problem.
The point is this that I want to emphasize.
Yes.
The problem could have been worse, if not for the concerted action being taken by the governments on both sides, the federal government, the state government, and even the people themselves. If not for that, the problem would have been worse than it is now. So really, we have to really accredit certain positivity to what the government is doing. We are not saying that we are all, we have all solved the problem. Oh, no. But you will find that the problem that we face was a disaster waiting to happen. When it happened, it took us time. It took the government time to realize even the magnitude of the problem. But the actions being taken. Look, you don't really produce a soldier overnight. It takes you time. You don't procure the weapons overnight. You see, I was a permanent secretary of the Ministry of Defense, and I knew the process of procuring arms. But I can tell you this, honestly speaking, and I say this with sincerity and conviction, that the government is doing, both the federal government and the state government, they are doing a lot. They are investing a lot of resources. And the problem would have been worse if not for the steps that are being taken. And I can assure you that it's just a matter of time before you see further improvement. Now, what the ACO is telling our governors, look, there is need for you, instead of taking individual actions, come together. There's synergy. If you now come together, you will find out that even the spread of resources will be much wider. And
are they listening to you on that? Are they doing something?
I believe they are, because we are seeing some improvements.
Because what we tend to see is, like, let's say Katsina now, there are areas where they have done some peace deal in court.
Look,
the Sasanchi, which involved traditional rulers, local government authorities, and the state government is still claiming that it doesn't sanction those. But it's, aware of them.
Okay.
And
let me use this opportunity.
It's difficult to understand. While Katsina is doing this, the bandits are just getting a corridor to start going into Kano, to even force some of the local governments in Katsina that have not done the peace deal with the bandits.
Look, let me explain something there. You see, people tend to misunderstand these issues of the type of negotiation within localities. What is happening is that if you listen to the grudges of the bandits, or let's call them, who are criminals, they always say that, look, one of their grudges is that they are now being hated and haunted by the local people.
Because of what they have done?
No, I'm coming. Of course, because of what they have done. When the local people are saying that, yeah, we're hating you, we're hunting you because of what we're doing. So a lot of the peace deals that you are seeing, these people are saying, all right now, please, if you can stop hunting us when we come to market in the towns, if you can stop hunting us, you can stop killing us, you can allow us to come to the market, we will stop this thing. There's no money exchange. People tend to feel that they are being given money to get.
No, but there are allegations that actually specific amounts are
No. I'm not privy to that.
In some localities,
but I can tell you,
it is less than the agreed amount, they said they wouldn't.
Let me tell you this. I am not privy to this, but one thing I can tell you, Katsina state government does not give money to anybody. No.
But why does Katsina state government and even the police authorities allow one of the bandits who appear to have been involved in the killing of an area commander come to these peace deals wearing the area commander's uniform with his name there, and then they allow him to still go free?
I don't hold brief for the state government, but one thing I know is that the Katsina state government does not support, does not negotiate with the bandits to the extent of giving them money. That much I can say. Whatever comes into this, I will not know. But I know that a lot of these meetings that are held with locality is the fact that, look, if we come to the market, please don't attack us, don't kill us, don't destroy our things. And in return, we will now come back and join and live with you. I mean, if people offer to come and live with you, which means that they will throw their arm before they
but they're still holding their arm.
Look, I'm telling you that is the crux of the matter. That is the crux of this. It's not an organized and officially sanctioned that has a template, that has a guide of step-by-step guide of what to do. No, each locality. And it has succeeded in some places. Look, if you go to, say, parts of Jibia, I know Jibia well, that's my mother's place. I know Jibia was a no-go area. Now people go to part of Bazari.
But how long will this peace last? But I don't want us to dwell too much on it. I want us to go back to this idea of the common security approach to this banditry in the north. When will we start to see Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, now parts of Kano, Kebbi, all simultaneously doing something together so that there is no room for the bandits to move from one place to the other? Well,
I cannot, for sure. But one thing I know is that the governors, for the northwest governors, they have an association and they're discussing and they are really fashioning out strategies that will block the loopholes, that will allow the bandits to be within one environment so that they can be dealt with in whichever way that is better and is effective. And I know they are thinking of that and they are doing that. Definitely they're doing that.
Finally, you visited the vice president, probably to brief him on this forthcoming jubilee that you are celebrating.
Yes.
And he appears to be saying that the ACF needs to get its act together and maybe not to be beholden to one side or the other. I don't know whether you may want to expatiate. Especially because there is the concern among ordinary people that we hope the ACF is not doing deal with the sitting people so that they are happy with it?
Deal in what way? All of us that are in the leadership, we are all people on our own right, doing our own thing. So as leadership, deal for what? You see, the vice president is the highest political leader from the north. That is one. So as of his own right, he deserves a visit like the one we paid him. And when we paid him the visit, we briefed him. And secondly, we got to know that ultimately he's the one that will also represent the president at the gathering, because we invited the president, and the president said the vice president will represent him. So it also that. Now, all that when we went there, our leaders explained to him the purpose of the visit, the purpose of the formation of the ACF, which he knew already, and then what was behind, ahead of us, to promote the interests of the North within the overall concept of one Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Senator Ibrahim Ida. I'm afraid we have run out of time. I wish we could carry on and on with the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming on the program. Viewers, that's the end of this edition of 30 Minutes. Keep a date with us.